I have just a cheap plug there, but I have some copies of a book I did with a local artist, Carrie O'Halloran. It's 60 of my poems and her paintings, some abstract paintings and poems kind of combined there. But the ones I'm reading tonight are going to be from the next collection we're doing. We're working on a second one now. First one's called These Are the Words That I Say From the Drain. And then the next one's called I Tried to Live in the Present, but it was wrapped a bit too tight. I'll start off here. This is a poem about Oppenheimer and is titled with his famous quote, "Destroyer of worlds," Robert Oppenheimer, who invented the nuclear, or helped invent the nuclear bomb. Witnessing the desert disappear, he accepted his worst fear. By showing the gods their reflections, he had shattered every mirror. This one's called The Poets Can Finally Take Rain. To be as free as the verse they disperse, the poets must first find internal rhyme and rhythm with time. Holding hope the line breaks, don't have the chance to overtake any strides they may make toward remaining awake. In a world asleep where all talk is cheap and the knowledge they obtain comes from trees that only wane towards someone else's gain. But if they find a way to capture the pain of hope's rapture with pens impervious to flame, the poets can finally take rain. This one's called A Hill Trying to Pass as a Mountain. It's time to throw the fight, forfeit the purse, flip the light and recognize ambition is a curse. No, you can't control it just like a stray bullet, and if you ignore the consequence of fabricating these footprints where you'll always fear to tread, then you'll trample the truth instead. You're just a hill trying to pass as a mountain, knowing full well all the wishes in the fountain could never make that dream come true, so that all you're left to do is hope for a better view. All right, this is Democracy in Action. The gators escaped the moat while the legislature gathered to vote. And though they weren't actually being chased, for the creatures had far better taste, they hunkered down and lifted the drawbridge, draining every well and raiding every fridge, until they had to call an emergency session as their appetites were taking possession. And so they voted unanimously to indulge in the hidden fantasy of devouring their staff and pages, swallowing them in order of their wages, until they eventually splintered into warring factions, perfectly illustrating democracy in action. And still you aren't jaded. The glass is empty, the plates have shattered, the clock is stuck, the meaning is scattered, the light is dim, the signal is distorted, the water receded, the mission is thwarted, the temperature dropped, the prices rose, the printer jammed, the door remains closed, the meter expired, the well went dry, the planes are grounded, the flags won't fly, the window is cracked, the sun is hidden, the lie caught fire, the system is overridden, the wheel is wobbly, the map is faded, the bridge is blockaded, and still you aren't jaded. And then one or two more, sorry. And then, if I am a windmill, let poetry be energy renewed, as I spin to convert madness and sadness into something a little less crude. If I am a tube, let poetry be my ointment, but often no matter how hard I am squeezed, the words only arrive by appointment. If I am a shovel, let poetry be dirt. I can spread it across the seeds of tomorrow, or I can dig up yesterday's hurt. If I am a needle, let poetry be the cure. But if I dilute too much of myself, the solution will become impure. The poetry and I share a bond. The poetry has my hands bound. The poetry beckons me to her pond. The poetry sells me by the pound. The poetry says of me she's fond. The poetry can feel both lost and found. And then unfinished bridges after that. Our lives are unfinished bridges, often lacking columns or ridges, so that sometimes we alone must purport any necessary structural support. And many will rush what they've constructed, claiming to know what lies on the other side, while others have horizons constantly obstructed until they desperately decide to converse with the tides. Either way, we're preoccupied with what's unknown or already faded, forgetting to take the time to marvel at the architecture we've created. And then the last one here is, if we trade in our wings, future and the past formed a pact to subtract the barrier around my signal's carrier. So I've redacted my hopes and retracted the scope of my ambition, assuming the position and surrendering the rendering of my dreams to forces unseen because I never remember them anyway. And now the audience are the ones on display with the tape stuck on play when all we need is a pause to dim the sign flashing applause and cut the strings that make us dance and sing for barons and kings, offering a shot at the stars if we trade in our wings.